Hello, algebra students. Here are the notes that I would like you to take for lesson 1-2, exponents and order of operations. Okay, so here we go. Our vocabulary and key concepts are as follows. Order of operations, first we always want to perform any operations inside of grouping symbols. Okay, so that would be brackets, parentheses, absolute values. Also, remember we need to take into account the division bar as well, the vinculum. Okay, next one we would simplify any powers. And then multiply and divide from left to right. And then add and subtract from left to right. Okay, so that's just a brief recap of order of operations. Some of our our vocab for this section, the word simplify. Simplify means to replace a numerical expression. Oops, excuse me. With its simplest name. Okay. Again, as I said in class, I'm using ink because it shows up better than trying to use pencil, but please fill these out in pencil so that if you make mistakes you don't get messy blobs like I do. Okay. Our next term is an exponent is a number that tells how many times another number, comma, the base, comma, is used as a factor. A base, in our terminology, is a number used as a factor. And a power is an expression with two parts. A base and an exponent. Okay. Well, if you look down just a little bit lower, here's a little scheme of what we want to talk about when we talk about exponents, bases, powers, and how they're all related. So the 4 in 2 to the 4th power is our exponent. The 2 is our base. And 2 to the 4th itself, the whole entire expression, is what we call the power. Okay, so there is a difference between a power and an exponent. So be careful that you don't try not to use the words interchangeably. And finally, evaluate means to substitute. A given number for a variable and simplify. Okay, so that fills out our vocabulary and key concepts. Okay, let's look at a few examples here. Our first example is simplifying a numerical expression. So if we want to simplify 32 plus 6 squared minus 14 times 3. Okay, so the first thing we would do is we're going to simplify the power 6 squared. Remember that means 6 times 6, so it's 36. So we can replace 6 squared with 36. I can just bring this down right here. The next thing I want to do, so I've taken care of powers, the next thing is to multiply or divide. We have multiplication, 14 times 3, which is 42. Okay, so now I'm going to add and subtract in order from left to right. So 32 plus 36 gives me 68. 68 minus 42 is 26. So my final answer here when I simplify this expression is 26. You may not write it in quite this format when you do it, but this is the order in which the operations have to be performed. So keep that in mind. Okay, our next one, evaluating an algebraic expression. We want to find the total cost of a pair of jeans that costs $32 and has an 8% sales tax. So we see our variables have been chosen for us. The cost is equal to the original price plus the sales tax times the price, the sales tax rate. Okay, so that's going to be C, total cost, is equal to P plus the product of R and P, and that can be P and R if you like. It doesn't really matter. When I substitute in now 32 for P and change 8% to 0.08 because we want to have that as a percent, as a decimal, excuse me. So we're going to write 32 when I'm substituting in plus 0.08 times 32, okay, is going to help us fill this in. Okay, 0.08 times 32. You can go ahead and do that on your on a calculator or by hand. It's 2.56 to the nearest cent. So if I add 32, the cost of the jeans, plus the amount of sales tax being paid, that gives me a cost of $34.56. So the total cost of the jeans is $36.56. Notice that the dollar sign is included as part of the final answer. If you did not have that filled in for you, you would need to include that dollar sign as well. Okay. Evaluate each expression for x equals 11 and z equals 16. So here I have the quantity x times z squared. So I'm going to substitute in 11 for x and 16 for z. So that's, you're told that right over here. Go ahead and substitute it over here. Okay. When I multiply 11 times 16, I get 176. So now I want to simplify, which was simplifying within the parentheses. Now I'm going to raise 176 to the second power. By now, if you haven't pulled out your calculator, you probably want to do that. So that's 30,976. Since the numbers are somewhat large at this point, using a calculator is certainly acceptable. So please feel free to do that. You do have to write down the steps, so I am going to want to see work. We will talk about this a little bit in class. The second expression is x times z squared. In this case, realize that only z is raised to the second power. So again, I'm going to substitute in 11 for x and 16 for z. So this gives me 11 times 16 squared. I'm going to simplify the power. 16 squared is 256. 11 times 256 is 2,816 for my final answer. Okay. If it's only 4 digits long, I don't mind if you do not put the comma in. Once a number gets over 4 digits long, though, it's helpful to have that comma in there so that it makes our reading easier. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is complete the quick check questions. They start over here with quick check number 1, number 2. Actually, you might want to save those for later. Excuse me. I still have a couple of examples I want to go to. So you can either pause and do those quick checks right now, or you can come back at the end and do all of them at once. Okay, here we are simplifying another expression. We have 4 times the quantity of the quantity 2 times 9 plus the quantity 15 divided by 3 squared. Okay, so that's kind of tricky to read. I hope I read it correctly. Anyway, what I want to do basically is simplify I want to work from the inside out. So I'm going to simplify my brackets first. So 2 times 9 is 18. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, so that's my first simplification just by taking care of things within the parentheses. The brackets I'm going to save for last because in other words, I'm still working on my brackets because I still have to make everything come down to one number in here before I actually answer the question. So I'm going to square the 5. 5 squared is 25. And then 18 plus 25 is 43. Now, so I multiply now 4 times 43, which is 172. Don't let the brackets freak you out. They are simply just act just the way as a second or another set of parentheses would be. Usually we use brackets when there are expressions within parentheses, so we're not putting parentheses around parentheses. On your calculators, if you have a calculator that does this, you may see parentheses within parentheses. It's going to depend upon your calculator. Okay. And finally, number 5. A carpenter wants to build 3 decks in the shape of a regular hexagon. The perimeter of each deck is 60 feet. The perpendicular distance from the center of each deck to one of the sides is 8.7 feet. We're going to use the formula that the area is equal to 3 times the quantity P times A divided by 2 to find the total of all 3 decks. So I'm going to substitute in my information. I'm going to substitute in 60 for P and 8.7 for A. So the 60 goes here, the 8.7 right there. Okay. Simplify the numerator. So 60 times 8.7 is going to be, I'm going to have to stop because I know I have a wrong answer here. So, well, actually not stop, but I'll do it off the side. 8.7 times 60. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is 48. And that gives me 52. Then I need to move my decimal point one place to the right. So that should be 522 over 2. So 522 divided by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 left over. 6, 1. So this is going to be 261 in here when I simplify that. And 261 times 3. 3 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 2 is 6 and 1 is 7. So that's going to be 783 is my numeral or my number answer. So 783 square feet is my final answer. Hopefully I did the math correctly. I had made an error and didn't catch it till just now. If the math is wrong, redo it, fix it, and let me know tomorrow. Okay, we'll certainly correct it if we need to. Now, if you would finish, if you haven't already, done the first couple of quick check questions. Now you have 3 more quick check questions. So if you'd have those done for tomorrow, we will start from there. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.